Buena Chisme podcast. We're here. We're actually at my place
Yes.
recording today. I have Karen Zaragoza with me. How are you, Karen?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. So, in all transparency, we actually met before we went and had coffee.
Mhm.
We met through Threads,
Mhm.
which we love, right?
Yes,
we
that
love
app
being
is
able to-
amazing.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we met through Threads. I think you reached out to me. I reached out to you. I can't even remember at this point. And we met for coffee and we just had a really great conversation. And I was
Mhm.
like, yeah, let's do it.
Mhm.
So I'm really excited to have you here with
Thank you. Yeah, I'm glad that you suggested this. This is perfect.
Well, you know what? I love when I have people in San Diego that I'm recording with because I could actually do it in person.
Mhm.
I mean, if it's Southern California, if I'm if I'm in LA or whatever, I like to do things in person as much as possible. But I talk to so many different people, literally from across the US and even in other countries, that it just, when I'm able to do something in person, it's so nice.
Yeah, in person is the best for sure.
Yes.
The vibe is just so much better.
Yes. So, look, I'm gonna read I have your bio here.
Okay.
So I'm gonna read your bio. Then we're gonna go over what we're drinking, and
Yes.
then we'll just get into the chisme.
Okay.
So, took me to a different one. There we go. All right. Karen Zaragoza was born and raised in the hills of beautiful Southeast San Diego. She's an event marketing strategist, community builder, and creative entrepreneur passionate about bringing people together in ways that create real impact. Everything she builds stems from Social Creatives, the community first platform that came before anything else. Social Creative exists because of her natural ability to connect with people and, more importantly, to connect people with each other. I know we were talking about that before. It's the foundation of her work in community building, event marketing, and collaborative experiences that support businesses, nonprofits, and conscious lifestyles. Through years of hands-on experience, she's helped and worked alongside successful business owners, produced community markets, partnered with nonprofits, and supported large-scale activations as both a collaborator and staff. So she's worked with organizations such as San Diego Food Bank, Petco Park, the U.S. Navy, and other impactful initiatives. So I am so happy to have you here, and I know you have Plant Bae as well, and we'll get into all of those things. So how are you, my dear?
I'm doing great. Yeah, it's been this weekend has been beautiful thanks to all the fog that's kind of removed itself.
No marine layer.
Yeah, the marine
and if
layer.
people that don't know, it's so hard to explain. It
Mhm.
looks like it's fog, but it's not really. I mean, kind of fog,
Yeah,
but not
I know.
really.
I just call it
burns
smog.
off. There you go.
I just call it smog.
So, what are you drinking today? I know you don't drink.
Mm-mm.
So, I know you brought some green juice. What you got in there?
So this is apple, pear, celery, cucumber juice.
Ooh, that actually sounds really
it's so
good.
refreshing. Yeah, it's perfect.
Ooh, nice. So this is the first. So I had, they import Greece wines, and they had sent these I think half a case to me.
Oh, cool.
So it's the first time I'm opening it. This is from Koncho Co. It's out of Georgia, the country,
Oh, wow.
not the state.
Okay.
This is Georgian wine, and this is called Aleksandrouli. So this is the first time I am drinking it.
A red semi-dry wine.
Yeah.
Can I smell it?
Yeah. It smells good,
Yeah,
right? It doesn't smell
good.
overpowering.
Mm-mm. So that's been a thing. When I stop drinking, I'm just like, can I just smell it? Just so I can get a hint of the notes.
So you know what's really cool about this type of wine? It's not aged what you would normally think in wood oak barrels or even steel barrels. These are aged in clay pots and buried underground.
That's awesome. So that's gonna taste really unique then, right? It's probably
the clay pots are probably taller, if at least this tall, if not taller. They're huge.
Underground. You have to make a big hole.
Yes.
Big enough for that.
Yes. So salud.
Yes, salud. I'm like, wow. I can still smell that. And
this is really good. It's it definitely has a little sweet. It's like floral.
Yeah, I got
Yeah,
that
you can
from
smell
smelling
it.
it.
It's like a
Yeah.
very, very floral notes. It's almost like it's not sweet. It's definitely semi-dry, but it definitely has like a tiny bit of like sweetness in there. I don't know how
Mm.
to explain. It's really good though. This is
Yeah, it says
very good.
semi-dry. So yeah. So one of the things that I first started doing was I used to be a brand ambassador for a lot of different wine companies here in San Diego.
Mhm.
So I had to taste all of the wine to be able to like sell it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was never something that I like. I was really young, so wine I think that developed later on. But yeah, I remember having to be able to describe it and to pair it with
Yeah.
food and things. Yeah, it was
Yes.
really
No, I know
interesting.
that's why I was like smelling it and trying to sometimes it's hard, especially some it's I have my tasting wheel that I didn't even bring it out with me today, but it's
Mm.
it smells a little bit like hibiscus, but
Yeah.
not like I don't know if
Hmm.
you got that as
Yeah.
well.
Like if there was a different flower that it
Yeah.
would come from.
Yeah,
Hmm.
but not like that sweet type, but that's kind of what it smells like. It's really
Yeah, I know the back should have some. It's a rare red grape from the oldest winemaking region in the world.
yeah,
Wow.
so Georgia is the oldest winemaking region.
I didn't
So
know
it's
that.
yeah, it's so cool. I love it. The first time I ever had this Georgian wine, there's a wine bar a couple blocks from me called Whetstone Wine Bar, and the owner Christian is Filipino and Panamanian.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he's so awesome. And during 2020, when everything was happening and you could like take stuff with you
Yeah,
and
the to-goes.
everything,
Yeah.
I would get bottles actually from him, and they always have like really different types of wines. They don't have like your traditional
Mm.
wine. That he always brings in really eclectic type of wines, and so that was the first time I'd tried Georgian wine, and then the second time that I'd really tried it was mine and my now husband's first date. We went to a. Have you ever been to Pomegranates
Mm-mm.
uh,
I've seen it
in North
though.
Park?
Yes.
Yeah, but that was we went there for our first
Oh,
date,
that's nice.
and we went through like 2 bottles of wine.
Oh, wow. That's fun.
We
That
had
must have been
such a
such a
good
good time.
time.
Yeah.
Yes.
How do you feel about bag wine?
I think. Well, okay. So my husband also makes something called vin chaud. Have you ever heard of vin chaud?
Mm-mm.
It's like the French version of mulled wine, but it's better because it's not as sweet. It's more citrusy,
Okay.
and so for so he'll make. You don't want to use like a really good wine for that. You want to use something that because you're adding sugar, you're adding fruit, you're
Like a
adding
Carlo
stuff like
Rossi.
that. Yeah. So you're adding other liquor in there. So you don't want to do that. So we use bag wine for that.
Okay.
There are some, I guess bag wine is getting better.
Mm.
I just don't tend to go for that. Plus, a lot of the wines that I drink tend to be from smaller wineries,
Mm.
because I think that it's, first of all, most of the wines I drink are from Latino wine brands.
Yeah.
This one happens to be from a Georgian wine brand, but and most of them don't do bagged wines.
Mm.
Um, and I just love really highlighting small vintners.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I've ever seen a small vintner
No, they're
yeah,
they're like,
do
don't
bagged wine.
disrespect us. Yeah, that's why I
Yeah.
was like, how do you feel about bag
So
wine?
so I will say I think there's a time and a place as there is for anything.
Hmm.
But I also think that if I always say the best wine is the wine you like.
Mm.
So if somebody is really into it, that's cool.
Yeah,
You
I seen
know?
that they made them like for the kids, how they have those like applesauce packets that you could just take them to
Oh yeah,
go.
yeah.
I've seen the bag wines that are like they're making them like that. I'm like, wow, that's really interesting. You
Yeah.
just take one to go to the beach or something.
Yeah, like they do the canned wines and stuff
Hmm.
like that, the canned cocktails. I think it's unfortunate. I know that there's been like a thing recently in regards to like Gen Z not really enjoying wine or not really like being more adverse to really even drinking much alcohol and stuff like that,
Hmm.
or wine in particular, or they'll drink like the canned cocktails. But I just think that when you're at the pool or the beach, I get it.
Mm.
But when I'm with my girlfriends, I don't want to pull out a canned cocktail.
Mm.
It's I feel it's like kind of part of the whole
Mm-hmm.
experience, right? And getting to like you don't get to smell the notes. You don't get
Right.
all of that when you're having the canned
Yeah,
cocktails
it's
or
too
even the
fizzy.
canned wines. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I think when you're sitting with your friends, and sometimes me and my husband, we have a little fire pit over
Mm-hmm.
here. We'll like pull it out. We'll have a glass of wine. Like it's just
Yeah, the experience.
it's the experience
Mm-hmm.
of it all. So I hope they, if they do decide to try wine and drink wine, but it's also the stories that go behind it,
Mm-hmm.
right? The people that work the lands, the people that harvest the
Mm.
grapes. I think when we talked, I had told you I created the first directory of Latino wine brands based in the United States.
Yeah, that's
And
amazing.
it's the story, all of that that goes behind it,
Mm-hmm.
that I think really makes like wine this very special thing.
Yeah.
And that's why I love it so much.
Yeah, I think that is great. It is the last thing that I got into before I stopped drinking, but I think that I love the versatility of it as
Yeah.
well too. Mm-hmm.
Yes. Well, girl, let's get into it because, like
Yeah.
I said, we talked, and you're from San Diego.
Mm-hmm.
You're from Southeast San Diego. So I grew up in North County, San Diego. So we were like
Yeah.
opposites. So tell me about um, your experience growing up,
Mm-hmm.
not in San Diego, but like also how you grew up and how that kind of had what was your, like, where you came from and who ay ay ay, I'm gonna edit that part, um and the people you surrounded yourself with, how that affected you growing up and how you viewed the world.
Yeah, so like I said, I grew up in the hills of Skyline Hills, and growing up in that neighborhood, it kind of felt like a dream because most of San Diego is like super busy, and that area already, Southeast, is kind of calm and quiet. It's usually people from there only go there. Even now, it's mainly people that are from there that go there. So I was able to just run around outside. It wasn't a cul-de-sac that I lived on. It was like a hill, but it all connected. It was one road, one entrance, and one exit, and yeah, nobody would drive up there. So and then it was in top of a hill, so there was trees and other little mountains and things. I tell people all the time I used to go into my backyard and it was full of trees, and I would climb the wall, and my neighbor's backyard was full of trees, and I would go in there, and I was just always playing in the trees, and like my imagination would run wild. And that I was like that from like 6 to maybe like 14, 15, when I would still like take my friends in the back, and we would hang out and just like I never drank. I didn't drink until I was like in my 20s, but we would just hang out back there, and I think that it helped me stay so connected to nature. Like my family would always go out to nature, and we would go to Yellowstone and to Big Bear, like anything up north that was filled with trees, and walking in rivers, things like that. And like I like to consider myself like spiritual, I guess, but it's mainly just connected to nature and connected to like the ways of the past. Like all my whole family is always telling me like, you're just so like, you think of the ways of the past, like we're not there anymore. It's a modern world, and I'm like, no, this world is still very
You're really
natural.
holding on to the ancestral ways.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that that helped being in nature. So I had a little casita in my backyard that my dad and my brothers built, and they built it with like a patio, I guess, or like a balcony. And I used to take a pillow and a blanket. It could be rainy, it could be cold, and I would just sit and stare because I lived at the very top of a hill, and so I had this view, and it was just beautiful. I could see the ocean. I could see like more hills because it was just a bunch of little hills out there, and the streets. Like it was just I was just able to cultivate so much in my mind. And I think that helped me now because like my ideas, and I'm able to just constantly flow with people. They tell me a little bit about themselves, and I'm able to create like a whole storyline for them that they were not able to see themselves.
Right.
So I think that really helped. My dad always told me, be whoever you want to be, just be a good person. And so that was always important. I would wake up, and the mailman, the grocery store person, like I'd wake up to them having breakfast at my dinner table. So it was nice to always be part of the community and feel like we were always part of a community. We had an open door policy. People would come in, come out, grab food, our fridge was always fully stocked. And yeah, it was really nice. I have two older brothers, so their friends would come in and out. And yeah, I think it really helped me become like such a people person. And I see everyone the same, like I'm not intimidated by people who are of a certain status or who, appeal to other people as to have more things
Yeah.
like that. Like I see everybody the same because I would wake up with so many different people in my house, and I'm like, oh, okay, like it's just normal. Mm-hmm. So yeah, my mom is like the friendliest person. So just seeing her and how she communicates with people, it really something I admired for sure.
Yeah. I know you were saying you were really connected with nature. So how would that, like, would you consider yourself someone when you were a little kid who was like a dreamer who never wanted, or maybe like how were you in school? Like how did that affect, like were you somebody who just wanted to be outside at the time and not be in the classroom? Or were
Yeah.
you somebody who were just like, okay, if I can get this done, then I can go outside?
Mm-hmm. Well, with school, it was different because I loved being smart. Like I wanted to be smarter than everyone, and I wanted to finish all my work faster than everyone. I remember I had classmates that we would race because I mean back then, like in the '90s, schools were kind of elementary school was great. I had a lot of support, but once we hit middle school and high school, the teachers kind of just like would put your objectives on the whiteboard and just like, okay, you have an hour and a half to get all these objectives done. So I would have a friend that I would race with him to see who could do it faster and things like that. So school was always like I really wanted to get better and better and better. But then when I stopped having that support of like I would finish my packets. They would give us a packet on Monday. I would finish it in class on Monday. I would try to turn it in on Monday, and she's like, no, hold on to it by Friday. So because I was so like all over the place, by Friday I didn't have that packet no more. Like it was buried in the bottom of my backpack somewhere, or like
All crumpled up.
yeah.
All of a sudden, it's just like this big wad of something.
Mm,
You're like,
yes.
I told you should have taken it.
Exactly. Yeah, no, I was never allowed to turn it in. And I remember that day in specific when she told me I couldn't take it because I'm like, so what am I doing this for? If they don't want me to finish faster and they don't care that I'm putting in so much effort, they just want it on a certain timeline. And at that point, they were just passing us, like we didn't even have to get good grades. They were just passing us on to the next. And I remember at that time as well, there was a lot of teachers going absent. We had a lot of substitutes, and computers would come in, and we would like it was I remember my middle school I went to O'Farrell, so I don't know if you're familiar with O'Farrell, but
No.
they broke it down into families. So our school was 6 different groups of 6th, 7th, and 8th graders, and each group was called a family. And yeah, we would have lunch with another family, and every year it kind of switched who you had a who like which families were connected. But my family 3, was the craziest. Like I don't know why, but we had some of the most misbehaved.
You were feral at Farrell?
Yes, exactly. I never heard that, but yeah, no. The computer room, we smashed everything. They would give us pink slips. You know how like
Yeah.
an individual person would. Our whole family would get a pink slip. So I grew up with a lot of that. Just a lot of people just kind of not really.
And pink slips were not good.
No.
Just by the way.
Yeah, they were bad. If you missed too many days, or if you did something, it was kind of like you're going to get suspended. Or
Yeah.
And then we would get in school suspension because they wouldn't want us to go home because I was having so much fun at home. My mom was like, stop sending her home. So yeah, in school suspension was a thing. And I remember at one point I had my entire science class sitting outside with me because they were all just so talkative. And I remember we were just sitting outside of class, and we were like, what do we do? Like they don't want us to leave the class, but they're just gonna have us sit outside.
What, like when you look back at that time, when you reflect back at that time, what do you think like that you took from it? Like, do you think it taught you something? Like, first of all, your teacher not accepting it, and you're like, look, I'm done with it. And then it just feels like there was a lot of things that could really affect a child of that age, especially middle school is such a crucial time in a child's development, right? Because you're in this weird space where you're starting to grow up, your body's changing, your body, your mind, you're like you're starting to think of other things outside of whatever, like boys and girls start becoming more prominent in your life in regards to certain things. When you look back at that time, what did it teach you? Like, okay, it doesn't matter if I do good or not because I'm just going to get pushed through? Or did it teach you like I can be feral at feral and like what, I feel like it could kind of be a plethora of things that when you look
Yeah.
back at that, when you look back at that time, what do you think was the most detrimental, and what do you think was the thing that you're like, no matter what, this or made you
Mhm.
flourish?
So by the time middle school hit, I was already super confident. Like I already knew I was smart. I didn't have anything to prove because I was proving it to myself all the time. Like I knew I loved learning and all these things. So when it came to like them not teaching, or even my parents, they had to work a lot, so they couldn't be on me all of the time to finish my work. And then they had their own things going on with themselves. Um, it just made me kind of look at systems and like what is it, authority figures, kind of just like in a different way that I never like respected, I guess. Like I didn't ever have respect for, I always had respect for people, but I think when it was people trying to put things in place, it made it so that I looked at systems like, wait, like finding a flaw already, like looking for the flaw, which I'm grateful for because I've met so many people that they just fall right in line. Like I have older brothers that I think they just kind of like fall right in line with systems, and it's because they would get beat, like my mom would beat them if they didn't. So they had to like fall in line, and they think that everything is like a certain way. And for me, I'm very much like, I look at systems and I see that it's a system, and I try to find a flaw, or I work around a system or things like that. Like it really helped me just not take so much, because I didn't finish school. I had my daughter, so yeah, that's one thing that I wish that I would have slowed down more, because I have kids. They went to the same school and they didn't turn out like me. They got good grades and they
How old were
passed.
you when you had your daughter?
I was 17 when I had her. Yeah, so I met her dad when we were in the end of middle school, all of high school. I only went for like 2 years because, yeah, we were just together all of the time. And yeah, that's something that, because my home, I got attention because I had a house and I had my parents at home, but it wasn't like they weren't talking to me or asking me about how I was doing or
Yeah.
about my day or anything.
Well, I was gonna ask you, and I apologize
No,
for
it's okay.
interrupting, but so are you first gen?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so are you the only girl?
No, I have a sister.
Okay, so how is she younger than you?
Yeah.
Okay, so you have two brothers, and obviously we know that there's a very machismo culture
Mhm.
in our culture. Um, so how did they treat? Because I know I picked up on something where you said like your brothers would get yelled at and stuff, which is kind of surprising that you like were the girls really yelled at, and what
No.
like did they expect you to pick up the quote unquote women roles, and you're like it just sounds like maybe your brothers didn't get the easy way out like a lot of brothers tend to do, like a lot of sons tend to get. So how was that dynamic in your family in regards to how your parents treated your brothers versus you and your sister?
Yeah, so my brothers definitely got a harder life. With me, when I came around, it's like, again, I was just I was so bad. I was so bad. I didn't care about anything or anything that anyone said. I was going to do what I want to do because I wanted to do it.
Very
Though,
stubborn.
yes. And
I wouldn't say bad. You were very stubborn.
yeah,
There's
just
a
stubborn, I guess,
difference.
like defiant. Yeah, so I was definitely that, and I didn't know why for a long time, and it followed me throughout my whole life up until maybe like 4 or 5 years ago. But I mean, I can get into that later. But yeah, they definitely treated me like I was their daughter. They always try to have rules for
Your
me.
brothers?
Yes, they didn't let me do anything, and then I would get clearance from my parents to do things, and they're like, no, you're not going anywhere, because my parents worked all day every day.
Yeah.
I think Sunday is the only day that they were all home. um, and yeah, no, my dad, he was my dad, not their, like he was their dad, but like we didn't know growing up that he didn't like raise them as kids, like until they were like 9 or something. So I think that had a lot to do with it. Now that I look back, now knowing what I know, that I was his first daughter, it makes sense because my dad would always stand up for me. He would always, like, even if I was wrong, he'd be like, let her do, whatever she wants and give her what she wants. And I can see why my brothers kind of just like I was just so annoying to them. And I remember days that we had like on the weekends where we would go out to eat, and my dad would ask like, what does everybody want to eat? And they would all say their own thing. Like there was 4 of us, so they would all say their own different things, and I'd be like, I want this. And
Where
that's
you'd
where we
go.
would go. Yeah, and it happened every time. And I didn't think about it until recently, like a few years ago, where I reflected on all this. My dad passed away, and yeah, it just made me like reflect on, you know, a lot of all of that.
So when you ended up, how was your brother's relationship with your boyfriend who became your father, your the father to your child?
They didn't have one. My brothers like stay out of my business. Like they knew,
Really?
yeah,
It's just so funny. They're like trying to give you rules, but then
yeah,
they stay out of your business. It's such an interesting dynamic.
yeah. Because by the time that I got with him, they were like, there's nothing we can do here. Yeah,
We give up.
yeah, pretty much. Because my mom didn't try. She kind of not supported me, but she also didn't I think it's just easy. Like I do it with my older daughter. It's just easier to just step back, let them learn on their own, and just, you know, whatever. Like,
Yeah.
yeah. So that's kind of like the attitude that my mom had with me. Same with my dad, because at the same time they were going through a divorce. Like as soon as I had my baby, my parents got divorced. And so there was.
Did you blame yourself at being? I mean, being 17, it's
Yeah.
hard to not say, like,
No, definitely.
Because of me?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I want to say the answer is yes, even though like I don't hold on to too much of that. Like I do believe that I had a lot to do with like the final straw. I know they had their own things that I don't know about, because I remember arguing and things in the family and things like that. But I know that I think my dad probably felt like overwhelmed when his first daughter is, you know, is having a kid when she's only 16,
But
17.
that's not your fault. That's his
Yeah.
inability to,
Right.
you know, process that.
Mhm.
So I just want to make like it's never a child's fault really,
Mhm.
unless it's like a totally psychotic child that's trying to break up their parents or
Yeah,
something.
no,
But
that wasn't my.
yeah.
But he did leave on the day of my baby shower. So
Really? Oh my gosh, that must have
yeah,
been so
I didn't know
like
that he was leaving. I just knew that he wasn't going to be there for my baby shower, and I didn't care really, because I wasn't like I'm not a very like I'm not attached to my emotions. They say it's like an Aquarius thing. I don't know,
Mhm.
but like I'm not very attached to those emotions. So when he told me that he couldn't, he had his like he was in a motorcycle club. So he would leave once a month or like something like that to go out to the desert and ride motorcycles with his friends. So that's what he told me he was doing, but he never came back. So I didn't know until like weeks later that he was not.
It's the updated version of going out for milk and
Yeah,
cigarettes.
pretty much. Oh yeah, because we found a lot of everything out after that. But no, yeah, I definitely think that I had a lot to do with that, but I don't hold that to like, oh my gosh, like, you know, it's not something that I'm like very sad or. I know that adults have their own thing, especially because I had my
Right.
daughter very young, like, and I knew everything that I was going through with her dad. So I don't ever. I just think that they just had their own. I forgave my dad like right away, and I would just ask him to stay. He would say no, and I'm like, okay.
So when you said you didn't finish school,
Mhm.
you dropped out when you had your daughter. Um, what at that point, like, where were you going? What were you like? Were you just like, I'm mom and that's it? Because obviously where you're at now is very far from that 17-year
Yeah.
old who dropped out of school. So what did you expect your path to look like at that time? Or did you even have any expectations of your life outside of being a mother? Like, where do you go from there?
Yeah, no. So, like I said, I was always really confident in myself and my ability to become anything that I wanted to be, especially because my dad, like, he told us that all the time. Like, he encouraged me to be, like, to have this, like, huge confidence. So, when I had my daughter, I just remember her dad was going to finish school and then I was going to go back and finish school, but we ended up not working out. So, he just, you know, he did his thing and I had to get away from that. So I was pretty much on my own because we lost our house because my dad left. So we couldn't afford the lifestyle that we were living anymore on one income. And yeah, everything, I became completely independent at that age. So my mom tried to help me every now and then, but no, I was completely independent and
Where did you go?
I was just running around. I was just out on the streets.
Were you out in the streets with the baby?
No, so that is like the biggest thing that I regret. I wish I would have stayed with my daughter all of the time, because I've seen like some people do it. Like they struggle, but they struggle with their kids. And for me, I had the option to just not have to struggle with her and leave her like in a home. But she ended up struggling in that home. So it's like,
She
was with my mom.
Okay.
So my mom ended up several years after she lost her house. She bounced around, but then she ended up buying property in Mexico. So I let my daughter went to school in Mexico. She went to like 3 or 4 years, because she was like 2 or 3 when she bought that house, or 3 or 4 when she bought the house in Mexico. And so she was in preschool in Mexico. She went for 2 years, and then by the time she hit 5, I had a apartment, and she was able to move back in with me. But by that time, it was like 2-3 years of us disconnecting, and it was during the time where my daughter is 3 right now, my littlest one. I can't imagine being away. Like, I'm not with her right now because she's in LA, and I'm just like, when is she going to come back? Where is she? Like, I have to be with her. I have to be with her. But because I was so young, all I wanted was my friends, to be out and to work. And because I was working, I made this like story in my mind, like, oh, it's okay. It's okay that your daughter is with your mom, because at least you're working and you're going to get her back. And, people have to sacrifice, is what I always told myself. Like, I have to sacrifice this time with her because in the future it'll be better. Like, I think that's probably, I don't like to say I have a lot of regrets, but if I could change things, that it would definitely be always having my daughter, even if I was struggling, and even if I was like apart, because I would have to go to parties just to have somewhere to be, because I didn't have anyone here. Like, my mom lived in Mexico, and
Where were your brothers at this time?
I don't know. They're 10 years older than me.
Okay, so they're significantly older than you. So they really truly have their own lives. Wine break. Time to refill that glass and come back for more Wine and Chisme. Ever wonder where you can find the wines I drink that are made by people who actually look like us? Mi gente, I got you covered, because I created the first and most comprehensive director of Latina-owned wine brands based in the United States. And yes, it is exactly as good as it sounds. From California to Puerto Rico and everything in between, I mean, we are talking about over 100 Latina-owned wine brands, all in one place, ready for you to discover, sip, and support. This is the directory that I wish existed before I built it. So you never have to search far to find wines that represent our cultura, our gente, and our stories. So head over to the wineandchismepodcast.com to explore the full directory. The link is also in the show notes of every episode, so you have zero excuses not to check it out.
Yeah.
I find that, like, I'm 5 and 7 years older than my sisters, and I don't have to, but God forbid something happened, I'd be like, yeah, you're gonna come with me. I mean, we weren't ever in that type of position, but I couldn't imagine. But I know brothers are different, but I also think like um it makes me sad for you that you didn't have that, to be perfectly honest, because you although they're 10 years older than you would think that they're like, we want to protect our little sister.
Oh yeah, but I was a monster. I was a menace. So they're
like, we
no.
want to protect her, but she crazy.
Yeah. Even to this day, like, my brothers we have like a distant relationship, but we are close in the sense that if I ever needed anything, if they ever needed anything, it wouldn't even, like, it doesn't matter. Like, we give whatever we can, however we can help. And even though we might not, like, we only see each other on the holidays every now and then, but if I were to be like, hey, I need this, all right, here you go. Like, no questions asked.
So how long did that period in your life last before you get your daughter back? And then at what point were you like, I cannot live like this? Like, I want my daughter. I want to have a relationship with her. I want her with me. Like, did that turn before you picked her, like before you got her, or after? Like, how did that progress in your life?
So honestly, because I think I missed those early years, like, I feel the difference, and it's really sad to say, but it's like it's my story. Like, I feel the difference with my littlest one to with my oldest one. There's like this really special connection that you can only make with them when they're like tiny little babies. Not that I don't have a special connection with my older one, but it's just like this like attachment, like this yearning, this like feeling of like I need my baby with me,
Mm-hmm.
that did not develop with my older daughter probably until like the last 4 or 5 years. And it's because I chose to mature, and I chose like I think my diet, honestly, that saved my life. Like that saved me from leaving, because I was gonna leave. I was just gonna go travel the world. My daughter and I, since we don't have the best relationship, I was just gonna like let her do her things, and she's already with my mom, and she's choosing to live, like even now she lives with my mom. But it was just it just never, like I had her a lot, but she was she was internalizing a lot of things that happened to her from when she was little that I didn't learn about until years later, that made her kind of like closed off to me as well. And yeah, that's still a relationship that we're slowly trying to work on and repair, because yeah, I mean, ever since when my mom got her, um, she just kind of just kept her. Like even now, like I said, my older daughter is 17, she's still with my mom. And it's, yeah, that relationship just never, because I was in relationships, and I think I was in relationships to find that stability that I didn't have. And then when they wouldn't work out, it was like I was unstable again, and then I would get into another relationship for stability. So it wasn't until maybe like 5 years ago that I'm like, okay, I don't care if I'm unstable, at least I'm going to be unstable like by myself. And I built like stability through the brand partnerships that I've developed, and like working for like being an entrepreneur. And I stopped trying to work a job. Like I was working 3 jobs all the time, and that's where I kind of felt like stable. But it was taking me away from my daughter. Like it always took me away from my daughter. That's why I said if there's one thing I could change, it would be always to have her with me, because even now to this day, like we don't have the relationship that I wish that I could have with her. But at least now it's like I'm not leaving all the time. I'm not like I haven't been in a relationship in years, and like I'm just another. It's just so much better now, because I can actually put my like full focus into her. And yeah, now I'm just like I have these conversations with her, like you can't keep pushing me away, and then telling like being mad at me for not being here. So yeah, it's still something that we're working on. But 17 is a tough age, and she's about to be 18 too. And yeah, she has like a lot of things that she went through when she was little that I think that are still affecting her. So yeah, it's just been a work in progress for
Wow.
sure.
So it's interesting that you said like it's really that you were kind of just unstable and all over the place, really, and just till recently, just over the last 5 years. So, what was it that you were just you're working 3 jobs, you're trying to find stability in relationships, which we all know, right? We have to be happy with ourselves
Mm-hmm.
before we can be happy with somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
But as you're going through life, you're going through your 20s. You're not, at that point you're like in your late 20s. What was it that you were like, I'm done. Like I can't do this anymore. Was it like a gradual realization, or was it like like a switch that you were just like, whoa, or did something happen that you were like, I need to
Yeah.
change?
There was a few. It was a few things, because like I said, I changed my diet, so I stopped eating a lot of crap. Like I was eating so much things that now if I eat it, I already feel off. So that started in 2018. But I think even a little bit before that, I found things out about my daughter that she was holding in, and that she was not saying anything about, and that was like a huge wake up call. And then not eating meat helped me clear my mind in a way where I was able to see how others were still living with like a trauma. I could see how they were still living with like they were just repeating out their cycles. And that's what I was doing. I was like repeating a cycle constantly, because I was just so in a mode of like consuming
Well, what
things.
made you decide not to eat meat anymore? What made you decide? Because you're vegetarian or vegan?
I'm plant based. Yeah, plant based vegan. I was in a relationship with somebody, and he was slowly getting sick. So he was getting like mentally unstable, and I had no idea that that's what it was happening. But um, he was we were breaking up, but my daughter was still in school. So I was like, I just started meditating. I just started like going back out to nature. I just started like really internalizing, like sitting with myself, because my daughter would like be playing her video games in her room. He would be downstairs playing video games in the living room, and I would just like journal and read and meditate and like do my chanting and all this information. And I don't know, they call it downloads, I don't know, like it just started coming to me, and I was able to just see things differently because I was doing all of these things. That next thing that came was, you can't keep eating meat, like you can't keep eating dairy, you can't keep eating things that are making you sick. So I just tried it out. I went cold turkey one day, like I just stopped, threw everything away. I had my daughter help me. I was like, can you read this ingredient? Okay, throwing it away. Like if it had ingredients that we couldn't read, I would just throw it away. And I emptied out my entire fridge and just started making like veggie. It was, so being Hispanic, we have like meat in a big portion and then rice and then, beans or whatever. And not cutting that meat out, I just had these two little portions. Like, how am I going to survive like this? So it was a lot of potatoes for a really long time. But yeah, it got easier. And then I realized how much anger I was holding on to, how much trauma I was holding on to. And these were all just ideas like, oh, I know my dad used to do drugs before he had me, because my mom used to tell me all the time, like, I pulled your dad out of a drug addiction, and he stopped doing drugs when we had you. So now the things that I know about consumption, it's like if he was doing drugs before I was born, that means that when I was born, I still possibly had those drugs in me, which could explain the outrage and the, like wanting to always cry and scream. And I didn't know why I had this like burning feeling in my chest for most of my life. But then when I put two and two together, it kind of went away. Like it just.
Yeah. Well, also on top of that, any, excuse me, any trauma that your mom was holding on to, that gets passed down into the fetus. So trauma, when they say there's generational trauma, it's because any trauma that the mom is holding on to literally gets passed down through the DNA, through the fetus. So
wow,
you could have been literally, like if your dad was doing drugs when you were conceived, but also the trauma that your mom was holding on to
through witnessing that. And everything. I mean, my parents are like immigrants. So yeah, all of that trauma, from having to come here. My mom is from El Salvador, so she traveled a little bit further than my dad did. But my dad was also, he didn't have his parents at a really young age, so I'm sure he went through all of that got him into his addictions. And yeah, it was a lot. So once I made that connection of like, okay, it's not me, it's not my fault, like I'm not this way, I can change. That's when I kind of just, my anger went away. That burning feeling that I always had in my chest ever since I was little, it went away, and my relationships got better. Like that's why I haven't been in a relationship, because I don't want to argue. I used to be wild. Like I would argue about everything, cry about everything. Like my emotions were, for a long time, I say that I'm like detached from them, but for a long time I was not. And I can see that when I eat, like I'll eat chips and then I'm all of a sudden I'm like crying, texting my ex, like I miss you. No, but yeah, I can't do it anymore.
No, I mean, it's very interesting how everybody has, because I know some people who used to be plant-based, but that made them sick. So like, because everybody's body is different, right? How we hold on to things and how we process things and whatever, is everybody is different,
right?
And so I had some people who, I've known a couple of people who for years and years were vegetarian or vegan, and they, after years and years, they were starting to feel really weird, starting to feel really down, even through everything. And when they went to the doctor and everything, and they were told they needed to start, because there's a specific type of protein in meat for them. Everybody's different. Everybody, everybody processes things different. And I know of 3 people specifically that as soon as they started incorporating, and they don't eat tons of it, but as soon as they started incorporating meat back into their diet, it was like night and day how they started feeling. So for you, it was the opposite of getting rid of all of that stuff. And when did you like when did you get into the creative, like creatively tap into that part of yourself and start building community? Like at what point were you like, okay, now that I've done this for myself, were you like, now I need to look outward? I've looked
Mhm.
inward, I'm doing this inward, now I need to look outward. And how I could, like, how did that happen?
So I've been creating events since I was 4 years old. So throughout all of this, like up and down, I was always putting together events. I was always volunteering. I was always working for nonprofits. I was always finding a way to bring people together. But that's just something I did since I was little. I used to gather up my friends. We used to choreograph dance routines, and then we would pull all of
Used to
our
do the same
neighbors.
things.
Yeah, so it's always, events have always been like, no matter how far I try to get away from them, they always pop back up into my life. So now I kind of just accepted it. But I remember I applied for jobs and it's like a complete job description that has nothing to do with events. And then I get into the role and they're like, oh, yeah, and we need events. And I'm like, okay, I can do that. So it's just, it always, or I would find a way that it would benefit them to have events. So yeah, being creative, doing things creatively, it always was a part of that. And I think it wasn't until I started like understanding myself and healing myself that I kind of took a step back from that, because I'm just creating events, creating events, creating events, but there's no like intention behind it.
Yeah.
It's just to bring people together, and that's great. But now, where I'm moving from, I mean, I think I took a break from events for probably like 3 years now, and I said like it's only been 5 years since I've been thinking the way that I'm thinking now. So yeah, these events that I'm working on now, it's more intentional, and I'm making it my whole focus is creating events for business owners, because that's what I've done. It was just never intentionally what I was going to do. It's just always something I kind of fell into because of my background. Like I was a brand ambassador for 11, I think it'll be 11 years coming up.
So one thing we were talking about when we were having coffee is the demographic of Southeast San Diego when you were growing up, and how that's changed, and what the revitalization
Mhm.
of not, and in a different way, not in like truly trying to revitalize the area, not just um all of a sudden I forgot the word when the white people take over.
Gentrification.
Not gentrification, revitalization.
Mm-hmm.
So tell us about like what your part, like what you've noticed in that area, because you still live in that area now,
No,
right? Or no,
I'm
you don't live in that
mm-mm,
area. But
like
growing up
close.
in that area, what you saw and now what you're seeing
Mm-hmm.
by people who maybe you've grown up with or that you've known or that you've met that grew up in the area as well. What are they trying to bring back to the area, and
Yeah.
how, like, what is your role within that, or
Mm-hmm.
do you have a role within that besides just being an advocate and a cheerleader?
Yeah. So where I grew up, I love it. Like I see the people that grew up out of that area, and they're doing great things even now. And I think especially the elementary school I went to is like amazing. But that area has always produced creative people and artists and people that are just like more creatively inclined. So when I was growing up, we didn't have a lot of places where we could, at least maybe I didn't search for them, but I don't remember there being a lot of places where I could go and be creative and have like avenues. And now they're building, like there's this one strip on Imperial Avenue, and they just bought back 9 blocks, and they're opening up spaces to the community, constantly holding events for the community. And there's art spaces that people could just go and walk around. It's like a art studio. And I mean, I love that. I wish that would have been open when I was younger, because I probably would have not been so, like, I just had nowhere to go, so I would go and look for that like in a party or something. But yeah, no, I am definitely just an advocate. I'm just a cheerleader right now. I'm talking to the venues to host events there. I want to do lead generation workshops, and I want to do it's called like the extreme plant-based uh, transformation, where I want to teach people about becoming more disciplined in their like diet and their lifestyle and things like that. And so that's definitely something that I'm talking to them with. But no, for sure, it's me just seeing something amazing happening in my community and just wanting to find some way to volunteer or be a part of that.
That we have it all in there.
Yeah.
So, one of the things that you said you wanted to really focus on because you are, you've grown up with creativity. Now, there's different types of creativity. You have like you have artists in the way
Mm-hmm.
of painting,
Mm-hmm.
sculpting, music, singing, like all
Right.
of those are arts. Writing,
Mm-hmm.
being able to write is an art. Being so um when you're talking about creativity, because that comes in so many things, events, you need to be creative,
Mm-hmm.
right? um you can be creative with flowers, you can be creative, like you can be creative with all kinds of things. When you're talking about you want to inspire people to tap into their creativity, what are you talking about anything specific? Like, what are you talking about when you're like, I'm a creative and I want to help other people tap into their creativity. So, what do you mean when you say you're
Mm-hmm.
creative? And what do you mean when you say you want to help people tap into their
I
creativity?
love that question. So what I mean when I say that is, I think that everyone has creative potential. Like that's pretty much we exist in a world where it's all just creative potential. If you have an idea, you have like you're gifted the hands, which are the tools to make it come to life. So like for me, that's creativity. That's being able to have the will to go and see an idea and create it yourself, whether that's through art, through writing, through singing, however it manifests. Like just having that willpower to be like, I can do it. Like I do have this wild idea, but if I go and apply myself and just have that discipline to go and do it, then I can do it. And I think that that's what I mean with like creativity. Like just go out and just try and do something, whatever you're passionate about, whatever you want to see more of, just like make it happen. And I think that comes because I was little and I would just lock myself in a room and I would do all of the things. Like I would just do all of the things, yeah, to just make my ideas come to life.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I joke when I say, "Oh, I'm not very creative," but I can see something. Like I'm like, okay, I have done a lot of events as well, even for the even taking the podcast on tour and everything,
Oh yeah.
and saying, okay, I want this and this and this and this. I can sometimes see it, but I'm a very good executor. Sometimes I see everything, but sometimes I need uh, I see like the huge thing, right? And then
Mm-hmm.
I need somebody sometimes help people to help me with like the additional little things.
Yeah,
But
the
when it
nuances,
comes to
yeah.
the execution, I can see all of like I'm very good at being able to see that, but if I'm in that position, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
it's very hard for me to see all of the levels when I'm trying to see like
Mm.
the whole vision.
That's the great thing about ChatGPT because you can
Oh
just put it
yes,
all in there and then it'll break it all down based
yes.
on what you ask. Yeah, I definitely feel like for a long time I was the same, and then I think that just comes with practice. Like going out, doing things, and seeing, having to work with other people, and just like developing each system. And
Oh yeah, no, I've done that. Girl, I've worked for Super Bowl.
oh,
Like
cool!
I've recruited 10,000 volunteers
I love
for
that.
Super Bowl. So, and then I've done like my little events.
Hmm.
So I can definitely see it, but I think sometimes it's when you have a big vision,
Yeah.
you have to bring other people in there to help you execute the
Hmm.
vision, because sometimes you can't always you see everything you want, and then you have to bring other people in to have different eyes to say this is going to work, this isn't going to work,
Yeah.
this is, and it's always so good to have collaborations.
Yes, collaborating, and that's why I called it social creatives, because I do want that aspect of like people coming together. It's really important. I read a lot of philosophy, and one of the things that it says in a lot of the different books is that not everyone is going to have the same skill set. So you have to really hone in on what your skill set is. That way you can look for those like what you need in other people, because some people
Yes,
are
help fill
more.
in the gaps, the
Hmm.
areas of opportunity.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
when you're talking about social creatives, what are all of the things that you're doing within social creatives, and where are you doing them?
So I've always done freelance. Younger, I would work just got picked up with businesses. I have like a huge connection of friends that are also business owners. I just happen to meet them and throughout life and things like that. So I always help them, but now I'm doing it just on my own, and I'm building this business where I'm taking everything I've learned. So the automations, making sure that their emails are synced up, making sure that their lead funnels are, working properly, that if they're going to the emails or to the social medias, everything's going to be funneling back to the same place. And then generating those leads through event design. So now you have everything working, and then you have this funnel. We want to actually start bringing people in there, because I tell business owners all the time, they always ask me, like, do you know SEO? Do you know Google Ads? Do you know this? And then I'm like, yeah, I can do that for you, but you're not posting on social media. Or like, why would you spend thousands on these Google Ads if you're going to just like start funneling all of these people to nothing or to nowhere? Like, yeah, you have a website, but your website doesn't work on my phone. So it was, if it's not working, if things are not working properly, then all the money that you're spending on ads is not going to go anywhere, and you're not going to see a return. And people think that they have to invest like 4,000, 5,000, 6,000 because that's the only way you see a return. But it's really, if you invested that into an event, you would get so much more of a return. And then also making sure that all of your things are working properly, so that when you do get these leads, they are reaching you in your phone or your email or whatever it is, and that you follow up with them. So that's a big thing too, that a lot of people don't. They get an email and it's like they don't see it because all of us are busy. So it's like you have to have like the automations in place. So as soon as I, click on something, it's going to send me something right away.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So because obviously people might be thinking, well, how does she figure all of this out? She didn't go to school for it, da 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 da. Like, who was your was it YouTube University that you're figuring out?
Mm-hmm.
Like, how did you figure out? Obviously, you've been doing events. You knew you had a knack for events, but the other things that go along with it, like you said, like you can do SEO, you can do this, you can do that, but also not only that, but being able to convey to a small business owner, this is where your money should go. That has to come from somewhere, right? That just doesn't like pop into your head. So what was your who was your teacher in regards to, or what was your teacher in regards to developing that?
Well, I've been really lucky to have a lot of really good mentors. Like I said, I've just met people through life, and they see something in me and they like grab me and they're like, you're coming with me. So I worked for a restaurant, and the owner of that restaurant, like I said, she just saw something with me, and I was in all her business meetings. I knew all of the logistics of how her business was running. Like pretty much I was just like glued to her for the majority of the time that I was working with her and helping her with the event side. But I had to also learn how, like, I put together a booth at an event for her and things like that. She was one of the mentors that sticks out to me the most, because she was a very strong, like, I thought that I had like a strong attitude, but she had like a very strong attitude. And she was not afraid to be like, no, that's a dumb idea. Like, that's a bad idea. You're not thinking about this, this, and that. So that's
attitude, confidence.
Yeah, it's something. It's for sure like a certain spice that she had that I know a lot of people, it probably made them hard. Probably made them not really want to work with her or something. I don't know, but for me, I really appreciated it. So I've had a lot of experience working alongside business owners in that aspect of like, yeah, they want me to work on their website, but I'm also gonna follow them along and see how they communicate with their vendors and how they communicate with like their business partners and things like that. And I've never not worked. I got my full lines of insurance. Like, I was fully licensed in insurance, all lines. And I did that for a little while, and I just ethically, I couldn't keep doing that. And I've been in real estate a little bit. I've been in sales most of my life. So yeah, I've just always tagged along with business owners, and I've put myself in place where I can have these conversations and see how things play out. So it's just really about just being at the right place at the right time and absorbing all of that, like, always.
No, I mean, that's such a huge thing, is being able to absorb all of that, right? Like, also having people who see something in you, and giving you the opportunities, because it doesn't matter how many opportunities you have. You have to make something of it, right? You have to make something with it. And if somebody sees something in you, sometimes it gives us the confidence to see that in
Yeah.
ourselves, because sometimes we don't necessarily see that in ourselves,
Mhm.
but somebody else sees it in us, and then we're like,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, even now I have a lot of like business like friends that own businesses, and they are all constantly asking me for my help. They like send me things that I can work on for them, and I love to help as much as I can. But right now, like I said, within these last couple of years, I've realized like yes, I can keep doing and working and building things for people, but what that's not leaving me with anything solidified. Like I
Yeah.
don't have like a solidified portfolio that I can show people because I haven't been like it hasn't been intentional. It's just been like on a whim where I'm like helping people.
And
And
now you're intentional.
yes, yeah. So now I'm creating my portfolio, and just I want to expand on everything that I've learned up until this point and just make it something really big. And
So
I'm
what's the
excited.
next thing for you?
So right now I'm putting together my events. I was been putting my events together. Well, I put one event together for myself. Usually I spent a little more time just working a job and like trying to make an income.
Mm.
And I learned like willpower is so important. So yes, you can operate out of like that fear mentality where it's like I need to get a job and I have to have a salary, or you can um, just become disciplined within yourself and operate out of like I'm going to make this happen for myself, whether it's financially or not. And I think that that is a place that, like me and a lot of my friends are kind of coming to this realization that the systems that we are used to, jobs and like everything's changing.
Oh yeah, I've said for since 2020, I said I think, so many of us, especially when you have, whether it's you come from a Latino a family that you know comes from the global majority, the non palm colored people,
Mm-hmm.
right? Um, it's so ingrained in a lot of our parents that there's two types of parents. They're either the entrepreneurs that they started their own business, they started their own thing, whatever, and so that's what you've seen, and so you oftentimes admire that and that's what you're going to go through. And then there are the other parents, like my parents, who are like, you need to get a 9 to 5, you need to get a job, that's going to give you got to get insurance,
Mm-hmm.
that's going to give you stability. And then 2020 happened and that all blew up.
Yeah.
So I think we've all learned that there's no such thing as stability. You have to create your own
Yeah.
opportunities. And I think we're seeing such a shift in that with people not wanting to live to work but work to live.
Mm-hmm.
And how do you do that? And how do you, like, people don't want to spend 60 hours a week working
Mm-mm.
anymore. People don't want to have that. So so you're no you're not so you're just strictly working on yourself. So how are you being able to be able to save money to be able to
Mm-hmm.
do that? And how are you feeling about this new, like, venturing onto this branch of this tree of yours?
Yeah, so I feel actually really excited because it's the first time that I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna fully focus on only what I want to do and what I want to build. And I do work with other people, and I make money that way as well, being able to help here and there. But I don't overextend myself anymore, and I don't try to take because I'm a very passionate person, and when I see somebody that's just as passionate about what they're building, like it's so hard for me to not like, yes, I'll help you, and I'll like let's do this. I can
Yeah.
help them go so much further. So it's really hard to not help people. But I think that's right now, it's like I can't even help them if I'm constantly, in and out of a job or having to pick up my daughter. That's a big thing is I want everything I do to now I want to have my little one with me. Like right now it makes it a little harder because we wouldn't be able to have a conversation like this if she was here.
Right.
But eventually, like I want her to see like firsthand, just come with me to everything, come with me to all my meetings. I tell my older one all the time, come with me to work, so that she can get involved because she's very artistic. So I wish that she would just like come and join me. And she's not really there yet, but I know that like right now we're moving back with my mom, so that's another big thing that is going to help me, I think, in this whole building process is being with family. And yeah, seeing more of my daughter and having her witness like all the creative things. And I
Yeah.
shared my Canva with her, so now she can see everything I'm doing, so that's pretty fun.
So I know you said your relationship with your brothers is not strained, but just kind of distant.
Mm-hmm.
How is your relationship with your younger sister?
The same.
Same?
Yeah, it's the same. Yeah, and I wish that it wasn't. I think like when I was little, I saw her as so much younger than me. She's only a year and a half younger than me, but like my sister's always been kind of different, and so I always try to protect her by bullying her to leave us alone because I knew I was being bad and I didn't want her to be bad. So I would just be like, go away, you know, like be really, really mean to her.
Mhm.
And that, like, in my head, I'm like, I'm protecting her. But now that we're older, it's like we don't have that connection either. Yeah, I'm realizing I push a lot of people, like I just subconsciously push people away. I don't, or not push people away, but like I'm mean to the people I care about.
Right.
And that's just because that's how my mom spoke to me in a mean way. My dad was like he was not mean, but if you hear him talk, you think that he's yelling at me. In reality, he's just not.
My husband thinks I yell at him, and I'm like, I'm not yelling at you.
Yeah.
I just am loud.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. So,
So I mean, I get that to a certain.
mm-hmm.
Like, you will know if I'm yelling at you.
Yeah, exactly. And for me now, I don't like to yell. I don't like to do any of that. Anything that like gets my emotions to a place where it's not like calm and peaceful.
Mhm.
I don't want to give anybody that privilege now, I think.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, obviously, you've said a lot of things have been kind of. I mean, you had a lot of struggle growing up. So now that you're over the last 5 years, now that you've kind of moved over those things, what has been your greatest strength and your greatest struggle over the last 5 years?
I think that for me, the way that I communicate has been my strength. Because I think that if I was less communicative, I wouldn't allow the opportunities that I present to myself. Like I wouldn't be able to cultivate them or to like take advantage of them. And I think support, if I had to say, like my biggest struggle is finding like a support system, because like I have my family, but they are not like me. Like the way that we think, like my brother is like me in the sense that he has his business, he's had his business, but because we are so distant and like everything that happened when like I still, every time I'm around my family, it's as if I'm a kid again. So we still have like that animosity towards each other, and like there's just like this vibe that is just, I don't have that anywhere else. I'm like, why is it only with my family that I get this like weird off vibe?
I think it's off. It's nobody can push us to the edge like our family.
Yeah.
Like honestly,
Mhm.
nobody can push our buttons like our family.
Yeah. So I wish, like, then that's been like the biggest struggle, is just realizing how important, because when I was younger, it didn't make me, like, I didn't realize how important family was, or I always had them. Like we lived in the same house all the time. So I always, like, even if living in the same house, I was always alone. I chose to be alone, and I like out in the trees and stuff. And then now that I'm older, it's like, man, I wish that I could share these things with my family. Like my family has no idea who I am or like the things that I've accomplished in my life. Like they just see me as like some super strict, crazy, because I don't
Vegan.
eat. Yeah, exactly. And then not only that, but my kids are sugar free, screen free, like, it's all of the things, and they're just like, you're crazy for this. Like TVs are fine, phones are fine, like give your daughters this and that, and I'm just like, don't do it. So yeah, it's
So wait, both your daughters are screen free?
I wish. No,
Oh,
my
I
older
was like-
one, I was younger, so I
Okay.
gave her all of the iPads and everything. Just the littlest one is screen free.
I mean, she's 3, so I can understand what if there is. How do you think you'll handle it when? I mean, I'm sure there will be a point where she's like, I want to watch this or I want to watch this.
Yeah, I'm hoping that by that time, like she doesn't even, now she's starting to ask because she goes places and she sees the things, and my mom is with her a lot more, and my mom does not understand the importance of like being screen free, so she like gives her the phone and gives her the tablet, and she'll come home and be like, I got to watch TV for a little bit, and I'm like, okay, so yeah, I can see how that's going to change as she gets older. But I'm hoping that because I take her outside so much, because I keep her entertained with so many other things, that's going to be like her go-to, is going outside and being artistic, or, doing other things. And then TV will kind of be like if she's, she has no other option type of thing.
Right.
But also just talking to her and like giving her the reasoning as to why I'm like preventing her from doing all of these things, and why I think that it would be a good choice to not continue to do these things. Yeah. And just having that dialogue, because I mean, I'm not going to put her in school either. So luckily I won't have the same issues, because my older daughter,
Because you're going to do homeschool?
yeah. my older daughter, she was in schools, and oh my goodness, she would get bullied for being vegan. She would get bullied for all of the things, and yeah.
I think it's different even now, though. Being vegan, there are a lot more kids that are
Mhm.
vegan or vegetarian, and there's a lot more just options. Even like I feel like it's not as. I mean, especially in San Diego. I
Yeah.
told you, my oldest son, he's a sous chef at a vegan, and oh my gosh, his food's amazing at a vegan
I
restaurant.
definitely need to go. I've been
Yeah,
hearing it pop
we'll need
up.
to go. We'll need to go. Um, but I feel like the culture surrounding that is different as well. But you ultimately you have to do what you feel like is best for your child.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, I know a lot of homeschools that like I think homeschooling now is different than homeschooling 10 years ago even, because I think a lot of homeschools they still have activities that the kids can do together, and they
Mm-hmm.
like where you can bring a bunch of the kids together to do certain things or to go on field trips and
Yeah.
stuff like it's very different I think
Yeah.
now than it used to be.
Yeah, for me, her school is. I tell her she's pretty much already in school because I just want her to like play with mud and trees. Like I want her to play in the trees like I did, for school, and to like travel and meet people. Yeah, and have those conversations for sure.
Awesome. Well, if people want to attend one of your events
Mhm.
or find out about any upcoming events, how can they do that?
So they can find me at Creating Karen Z. It's the best way to kind of get to know who I am and what I'm doing. I do have an event, Extreme Plant-Based Transformation. That's where I ask people who are looking for, a way to either add more discipline or who are looking for self-mastery and probably like in a way to like change their diet a bit more, their lifestyle, to come out. And it's going to be a 4-week workshop, one day every week. I'm going to have different guest speakers that are going to come out, and it's going to be a mind, body, and soul activation. So yeah, it's going to be pretty interesting for sure.
Awesome. Well, Karen, thank you so much for
Yes,
coming
thank you for
out. Thank
having
you for
me.
sharing your story. I
It's a wild
appreciate it.
one.
Yes. And all of the links will be in the show notes. And until next time, mi gente,
Yes, cheers.
saludos.
Hola, mi gente. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Wine and Chisme podcast. If you would like to hear more wine and more chisme, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Saludos.